I am not a medical professional. This episode is based on my personal experience and information gathered after my mother's passing.
Yeah, grief is interesting. Like when I used to think about if I lost my mom, y'all, I thought I was gonna be wailing, hailing, all over the place. Okay, like tell me why. And granted, it may happen. That might still happen, right? But I mean initially, like I thought it was just gonna be so. And it might have been if I didn't have Jesus. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because when I tell you Cornerstone, Chief Cornerstone, Prince of Peace. Okay, give her joy. Let me tell you something, okay? But I know where my help comes from, and it cometh from the Lord, okay? So I thought that's how I was gonna be. But man, when I tell you that calmness, that peace, I said, wait a minute. And yes, I was still sad. You can be both at the same. You can be sad, and you can still have joy. You can be sad and still have peace. I'll be sad sometimes. I'll be like, dang. But I know where my mama at. It's okay. And everything ain't got to be hooping and holler. Sometimes you could just be like, dang, I'm sad, and start crying. And feel that. And then move on. You ain't got to sit in it. There was a part where my mom just slowly started to decline. Like she started to move more and more. And so the doctor asked me, do you want us to do whatever we can to get your mom back? And I'm like, yeah. And let me put the side note in here. My mom told me when she was alive, she said, if they ever ask about bringing me back or if they can do something, no, I don't want that. What? Because it was so unexpected. I was expecting my mom to come home that day. I kid you not. I was expecting my mom to come home. I was like, my mom is going to make it home. I got her this suit. I was going to take care of her. I was ready for her to come home. But God was ready for her to come home. You know what I mean? Her to be with him. So it was just like, it was hard to deal with seeing my mom just laid out there, not having any. Welcome to the Heard, Seen, and Known podcast, where the gospel is heard, God's glory is seen, and his word is known. I'm your host, Daiesha Jamaica, and I am so happy, humbled, and honored that you are here today. This episode is called Loss, Lessons, and Love. If any of you had watched the previous episode 10, Trust God, featuring Tanisha Gar, which y'all gotta go check that out. If you click up there, ding ding, you'll be able to go see it. It was a very powerful episode. But I talked briefly a little bit about my mom and her passing. She recently passed away February 3rd of this year at Parkview Hospital at 4:47 p.m. It was very unexpected. I'm gonna get into it. The story of it. I'm not going to dive into full-on detail about everything, but kind of give just a layout of, kind of what that day looked like, kind of what I expected, the things that showed up in that day, and just, days following on up until now. Man, let me start by saying, usually I have notes, like I script things out, just so I can stay on track with stuff. And so today I did not do that. I've had things like going on in my head, but I was like, I want to speak from my heart today. And usually when I do have things going on in this head of mine, I try to write it down. So like I said, I can stay structured. But I did not do that today. So if you hear me rambling, my apologies. I'm going to try to stay on track as best as I can. With this episode, try to put timestamps, because right now y'all probably like, come on, can you get to the point? And it's like, yeah, but I'm just setting up the scene just in case you ain't never been here before and it's your first time tuning in. I want to say thank you for that as well. You know, you could have seen a title, you could have seen a clip, you could have, related to it and was like, let me go see what she's talking about, right? And so I just want to say thank you. So without further ado, I'll dive into a little bit about what happened that day with my mom. So I was getting ready for work, and she was basically, let's go backstory, like pivot back a little bit. She had been experiencing different types of pain, like arthritis. Her ankle was hurting, different things were starting to bother her, and she would express those things to us, like, hey, I'm not feeling good, my wrist is hurting, or my leg is hurting, or this. And she was going in and out of the doctor trying to figure out all these things that were happening to her. And one of the times she went, she found out excuse me, and I'm sharing these things because it could help somebody and bless somebody, and you know what I mean, like get somebody aware that these things are very important. If stuff is going on with your body, you want to make sure. I'm even talking to myself, okay? But she went in and she found out her platelets were low. And when she first found that out, and when she told me, I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I went on Google. I was like, what can happen if your platelets low? And they was just listing all a bunch of things, like heart attack. That's the main one that stuck out to me. They said a lot of stuff, but that one got me, and I had to immediately start praying, because I start worrying a little bit, because I'm like, I don't want my mom to, have to leave this place for something like this. I had never heard about it, like low platelet counts. And so that was maybe earlier in the year, maybe later of last year. She found that out, and they got it back to regular, got it back to normal. And so I was like, oh, that's great. I'm thankful for that. And so my mom, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Let me stay on task. Like, I always going to jump to another thing. Let me stay on track. So that was happening. So the day that she texted me, she was still saying, hey, I'm not feeling well. I'm gonna go to the ER. She had been to the ER maybe like a month before that too, for something. And she was like, your dad is gonna take me up there. And I was like, no, I'll come get you. I'll take you. Because if you know my dad, you just know. I ain't got to say too much. I love him. But if you know my dad, you just know. He knew himself. He was so tired. Like, when I got there to pick her up, because I was like, nah, and my mom cared so much. Like, she didn't want me to worry or anybody to worry. She was like, nah, I don't want you to be too tired for work. And it's just like, first of all, my mom, when it came to her not feeling well or whatever the case may be, she never was one to truly complain about it. You know what I mean? If she was down, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh, something is up. So I was like, nah, I'll come get you. And so I thought nothing of it. I'm just like, not in that way, but I was just like, oh, she just got to go to ER. I'm going to be there for her, blase. So I'm getting dressed. I'm telling her, I'm coming to get you. She's like, all right. So I get there. And she's getting ready in the bathroom, and she weak. She can't really barely stand. She can't barely do stuff for herself. And my dad is just laid out, dead tired. And I'm like, yeah, he wasn't going to be able to make it and take her anyway. So he's dead tired, like sleep, and halfway awake with sleep. And so she's trying her best. And I'm just telling her hey, Mom, I got it. What do you need? What do you need help with? She's trying to get her different, medications and all this stuff. And I'm like, I got it. So y'all end up putting everything from the bathroom in the bag. And she looking in the bag. She like, girl, this lotion, this baby oil. I was just listen, I was grabbing whatever. Because I'm ready for whatever. What's going on? I'm trying to help. And so, to see my mom in that state was so heartbreaking for me. Because it was just for your mom, you look at them and you're like, especially, you're strong, you're this, you're that. And I know that we all have our weak moments. We're human. At the end of the day, even though that was my mom, she was still human and was going to experience the things, that we all experience when it comes to pain and our weaknesses. In that moment, though, I was just I'm showing up for my mom, so whatever she needs. But my mom is the type of person that is just while she's still worrying about, she's still worrying about getting stuff done. So she's make sure you feed Bud, and make sure, which is the dog, family dog. Make sure you pay your dad's phone bill. So she's still, while she's in the course of, weak and, can barely stand, she's still worrying about her responsibilities of like taking care of stuff against stuff taken care of. And I'm just like reassuring her, like, Mom, don't worry about that right now. Like, let's worry about getting you to the hospital. So at the same time, my mom was in the hospital, my best friend was in the hospital. And so it was kind of like, it was like, a lot going on that day. And so my best friend was at Lutheran Hospital, so I told my mom, I was like, Mom, let's go to Lutheran, because my pastor was there. Well, our pastor, me and my mom's, and my best friend, our pastor was there, and our pastors were there. So I was like, well, let's go over there. And my mom, being my mom, was like, I don't want nobody to see me. My hair not done. My hair not done. I'm like, Mom, they don't care about your hair, girl. Like, I'm like, they can be there for support. And she like, nah. And I'm telling her, I said, well, Mom, they finna come. They gonna come anyway. Prior to this, when I was at home, I had text. We have a church has a group chat on Facebook, and I wrote them, and I was like, please pray for my mom because she has to go to the ER. And one thing I learned about, that prayer works, and especially when you got prayer warriors, they can, go and intercess for you. And so I was like, we need as much intercession as we can at this point, at this moment, because, my mom is really going through. And I didn't give much detail, but it was just like, pray for her. So fast forward, I'm getting her ready. She's getting ready, and she's just trying to hurry up and get to the car, so we can go to Parkview. She was arguing with me down. She's like, no, I want to go to Parkview. I'm like, no, let's go to Lutheran. She's like, no. And I'm just like, and you know how it can be. When you make up your mind, you make up your mind. Like, her mind was made up. She said that Parkview had her information. And so it would be easier. So I was like, all right, cool. So I take her to Parkview. A lot of stuff ended up happening there where, like, I tried to get her a wheelchair, but I had ended up getting her a wheelchair without one of those little foot things you can put your feet on. So her feet was, like, scraping on the ground. Listen, I was struggling. Because I'm like, because the people that would be able to help were at another hospital. And then my dad was, like I said, dead tired. So, they weren't really available, and then other people was doing other stuff. So I'm trying to help her, and by the grace of God, because God is good, one of our deacons from our church showed up at the hospital, and I had seen him. He's like, what you doing here? I told him. He told me what he was doing there. And so he had asked me, like, did I need help? And at the time I didn't, because I thought I had got it. I was like, no, I got her a wheelchair, we good. That wheelchair wasn't working. So I she was, when I was rolling her up to try to get her into the hospital, her feet were like scraping on the ground. She was weak. She couldn't do much. And I'm like, dang, how am I going to get my mom? How am I going to be able to get in there, park her here? She don't have nobody to watch her. God again. And listen, when I tell you. So Deacon comes, and it's a door right here, and he comes and pick his head out, and you like, you good, you need help? I'm like, you know what, I do. Can you please get her a wheelchair with the feet? So he like, yep, got it. So he gets the wheelchair with the feet. We transfer her from that one to this one, and I wheel her in, and they get her in the back. And so when she gets back there, she's just, in excruciating pain. She keeps complaining about her stomach. Her stomach is hurting. She's having stomach pains, and she's feeling nausea. And so the doctor's asking her all these questions, and she can barely answer. So that's when I start to intervene. I'm starting to answer all the questions, because I'm like, she can't really answer anything right now. So during the course of like the time that she's there, they're like trying to get blood work. And it's like, it's taking a long time. Like, we got there at like, I want to say 11:15ish, 11:30, and she, it was like so many people that were coming in and out, trying to help. And we're waiting on like blood work, and we're waiting on, and it was hard for her to get IVs. Usually always hard for her to get an IV in her arm. So there's, different people trying to get her IV. Her IV wasn't staying. They tried to get her oxygen. Her oxygen wasn't reading. She was super cold, but she just kept, moving back and forth, in the bed, after a while, just saying her stomach was bothering her. And so I maybe want to say an hour into it, maybe, she was like, she wasn't on the lowest of low, but she was on kind of like a up and up. And we were talking, kind of, and my pastor and my best friend, all, they end up coming. and seeing her, and the pastor pray for her and stuff like that. And so they end up leaving. And so then my mom just kept saying how she was thirsty and she was hungry because she didn't have nothing to eat. So I was like, all right, bet I'm gonna go get you something to drink, something to eat for when you come, for when she comes home. So like I got her some soup, an electrolyte drink, and a 7-Up because she was asking for it. And I was about to give it to her when I got there, but I was like, you know what? They kept telling her she couldn't have anything. So I was like, well, let me double check. So I went and I asked one of the nurses, I was like, can she get something to drink? And they were like, no, not right now until they find out what's going on with her. And I'm like, cool. When I tell y'all that was hard because I'm seeing my mom asking for something. She's weak. She can't, barely talk. And I can't get, I ain't gonna tear up, y'all. If I do, though, don't mind me. I meant to bring some tissue. I didn't bring it. So yes, Holy Ghost be with me. But to see her like wanting something and asking for something and I can't provide it was hard in that moment. So, I'm still, staying with her. Doctors are still coming in and out trying to figure out what's going on. It felt like to me they weren't taking like how much she was like fighting and rolling around in the bed and was getting uncomfortable. They weren't taking that as serious as they could have. Like, it's like the result of her pain is showing on the outside of her twisting and turning and moving and groaning. And she was like breathing really heavy. And they kept asking her like, why are you breathing so hard? And all this stuff. And I get it. But at the same time, it was very few of them who had like good bedside manner to where they were looking at her more than just like a patient. They were looking at her from a humanitarian standpoint in a, sympathetic, empathetic type of situation where it's like, well, if this was my mom, how would I want my mama be treated? And since this is somebody who looks like they're going through pain, maybe let me sympathize with them. So, man, so then more doctors started coming in. There was one doctor or a nurse. She was so nice and so kind, and she was just very bubbly and very, very friendly, and she was just so encouraging to my mom. And then there was this other nurse that was also nice, and she was talking me through and just talking to me and asking me questions. But then there was a part where my mom just slowly started to decline. Like, she started to move more and more. And what I was trying to do, one of the things my mom did every day, all day, was listen to Rhythm and Praise 94.1. So shout out to them. That was her station. All day, every day, 24/7. You come to the house, it's blasting. When her radio, because my mom was old school, okay? She had her little Walkman, her radio. She didn't really know much about technology. So when she had her radio, their radio was blasting. When her radio stopped working, I had to put it on her phone, Rhythm and Praise, the radio station on her phone. She would have it blasting. You get in her car, it's blasting. Everywhere she went, morning, noon, and night, that was playing. So I was like, well, what I went to was I started playing that on her phone. And I was like, well, maybe this will help her, right? But when I was playing it, it was just like she was in so much pain. She was so out of it. I didn't know if that was helping or not, but I was just like, I know this is her go-to. So I was trying to make her feel more comfortable. And so I was like holding her hand throughout all this time. And she's just looking at me in my eyes. And I'm just like, it sucks to see. It's just hurtful and heartbreaking to see my mom, experiencing all of this pain. And there's not much I can do about it. And my biggest thing, too, was I also wanted to show up. Like, I've been working so much on showing up like Christ. And making sure like I show up with kindness and compassion. And that's towards everybody. So I was trying to balance the, hey, what's going on? What's taking so long with stuff, with not like getting, upset and angry and like taking it out on them when I saw something that I may not have liked. So during the course of this time too, I'm asking them like, hey, what's going on? What's taking so long with her blood work? And all this stuff. So they end up finding out that her platelets again had become low in her blood, and they were saying that they might have to keep her overnight. And she's like, overnight, and they had to maybe transport her to another hospital out on DuPont. And so they're trying to still figure it out. They're looking at her heart. They're doing all this different stuff. And they're talking amongst each other, and the doctor ends up coming in, and he looks to me, and my mom is just squirming, moving around in the bed because she's in so much pain, right? I can't emphasize that enough, that she's in pain. And so he's like, well, when's the last time she's had, this anxiety? how long has this anxiety been going on? And I'm just like, anxiety? She's like, yeah, is she usually this anxious and this and that and the third? And I'm like, well, it started when, she's felt pain, like when she was, experiencing what she was experiencing. And it just threw me off guard because I'm like, to me, I'm like, why are we worried about her anxiety? Shouldn't we be worried about what's going on with her to cause her anxiety? Like, I feel like the anxiety is the symptom of what's going on truly with her. So I don't understand why we are worried about her anxiety. So that threw me off. But during that time I'm talking to him, my mom is just, really going through it. And they're trying to get her blood work. And it was just one nurse that's like, she was very, I guess I want to say, like, you have certain people that's strict and straight to the books. They're like, this is, we need you to do this. We need you to do that. And they kind of disregard the actual situation that's going on at hand, I should say. So my mom ends up trying to get up. And later I learned from my therapist that there's a word for this. And she told me this is something that can usually happen before somebody passes away. Or about to. I forget what it's called. When I figure it out, if I figure it out in post, I will put it on the screen. And yeah, that's something that gave me closure. But anyway, back to the story. So she ends up trying to get up. Nobody's saying nothing to me because everybody's like, whoa, 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 looking like why she's trying to get up. And so they try to bring her back to sit down. They're like, ma'am, you gotta lay down. Because one person was trying to get her heart. And by this time, it's like 8 people in the room. Mind you, she done seen, who knows, like 13, 14 nurses and doctors. So they come in and they're like, one's trying to look at her heart, one's trying to still get her blood, another one's standing behind her. And the one that was standing behind her was one of the ones that was very nice and kind and like just helping me through and talking me through. And she goes, she was talking to one of them and she goes, wait, I was talking to her because she was asking her questions and I was answering, but then my mom, she was answering and then became unresponsive. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. And when they said unresponsive, I just thought she like had passed out. So I was like, okay. And so the nurse was talking to one of them and they were like, hey, we need to do something because she's become unresponsive and I'm concerned. And so the doctor asked me what did she say? Basically along the lines of, do you want us to do whatever we can to get your mom back? And I'm like, yeah. And let me put the side note in here. My mom told me when she was alive, she said, if they ever ask about bringing me back or if they can do something, no, I don't want that. Because she didn't want to be a vegetable. She didn't want to, if she couldn't live, she didn't want to. Like she couldn't be alive and live this life fully and do the things that she loved and was comprehensive. She didn't want to be here. And so, but I was like, yeah. What? Yeah, bring her back if you can. And it still wasn't clicking with me that she's, like, I'm still thinking that she's, that she just passed out. And then, like, they start rushing her to the ER, and it starts to process in my mind. Like, this lady just asked you if there's anything that, if they can do. Are they able to do all that they can? Obviously, they're supposed to ask my dad, but I was calling him. He wasn't answering. He was busy at the time. And prior to this, my mom was asking me, still worried about it, like, make sure your dad goes to the bank. Because she was still trying to get the responsibilities done. And I was like, nah, Mom, I'm going to go to the bank. I got it. We good. And so, so they rush her out, and then it hits me. And I just start crying because I'm like, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Like, usually they don't ask that unless that person is not here. And I'm like, wait, unresponsive. So then I ended up calling my pastor back and my best friend, which is really also my godparents. So I call them and I'm like, I call my best friend. I'm like, she's unresponsive, and I'm just crying. And they're like, what? And I'm like, she's unresponsive. They say she's in and out. She's unresponsive. I don't know what to do. And so my best friend is trying to calm me down. She's like, it's okay. You all right? It's okay. And I'm just like, I'm freaking out because I'm like, it just didn't hit me until then that they taking her. And the lady's like, well, you can come with us. So I come with them and I see them and they start doing CPR. And so while they're doing CPR, I'm just like, y'all got to get here. And I ended up getting a hold of my dad. gratefully. And I'm like, Dad, you have to come. And I'm crying. And I'm like, Dad, you got to come. She's not here. You have to come. And he's like, what? And so he rushes over there, and they're still trying to perform CPR. And I'm just crying, and I'm just sobbing, and I'm just like, come on, Mom, come on. And they're like, she has a pulse, right? But she's not coming back for some reason. So they're doing everything they can. They're like, she has a pulse. And ultimately they're like, but her heart isn't strong enough, and she wasn't getting enough blood supply and stuff for her to be able to come back. So they ended up saying that they would call the doctor. So by this time, everybody's there. My dad's there, my best friend's there, my godparents are there, and he's like, the doctor calls it and was like, we're gonna call it, and it was 4:47, and I was just like, man. I'm just like, what? Because it was so unexpected. I was expecting my mom to come home that day. I kid you not. I was expecting my mom to come home. I was like, my mom is going to make it home. I got her this soup. I was going to take care of her. I was ready for her to come home. But God was ready for her to come home. You know what I mean? Her to be with him. So it was just like, it was hard to deal with seeing my mom just laid out there, not having any breath in her body. And what I thought about, after the fact, with going through therapy and just processing, I'm like, what I felt, I don't want to say bad for, but what I wished I would have done was like, dang, obviously said I love you, and all those things. And I was like, I wish I just would have said that. And my godfather goes, she knew you loved her, right? And that little bit helped me in that moment, because I'm just like, that's true. Like, by my actions, I didn't have to say it, but all my people kept telling me, the people that are around me, my community, my village, kept telling me, like, you did everything you could do as a daughter. You showed up for your mom. You were here for your mom in her final moments, right? And it was a moment too when she was going through it, and she asked for me, and she was like, where's my daughter? And they're like, she's right here. And I didn't say anything, right? Because I was just still trying to process all that was going on in that moment. Like, it just was so much going on. And mind you, I'm the only one there. So I was like, dang, I wish I would have said that. I wish I would have said this before she became unresponsive. Because for me, my mom's biggest thing was always that she wanted to make it to heaven. She wanted to be with the Lord. So I'm like, the minute she was like unresponsive, it wasn't here, ain't no coming back for her. She see Jesus, she running. She wasn't coming back. So I was like, dang, that's the moment where I wish I would have said something more, because I'm like, if I would have known that unresponsiveness was, then I probably would have been like, Mom, I love you, all these things. But I had to realize, like, just me being there in her presence, just me, sacrificing, and I had to call let's go back a little bit with my job. So I had called my job. I told my job I'd be late at first. And I was like, my mom's in the hospital and stuff like that. But then, like, when she wasn't getting better and I just saw her there, and they was, I was like, let me call my job and say I'm not coming in. I was so grateful that I didn't go in, because it would have been so much worse for me. To have to get that call. First of all, it's just like, to think about that call, like your mom. And then my drive is 40 minutes away from where I'm at. So it would have took me 40 minutes to get there. My mom, it's like the way that it was, and how she passed and what happened, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to deal with those thoughts of like, dang, my mom has just passed away. But then I also think of the alternatives, and I'm like, compare those. Compare, like, you actually being able to be there, because some people didn't. Some people don't get to be there for their final hours or the final times and moments that their loved ones pass away, versus you being at work and having to find it out, So it's like both. Yes, it's hard, but it's like, glory be to God, our gracious, loving Heavenly Father, that He allowed me to, be there for my mom at those moments. Y'all, when I tell you I was on that flow, and listen, I said my mama though, because it's like, my mama though, Like, come on. Like, that's all I had. Like, when that happened, I was just on the floor. You can ask my best friend. I'm like, my mama though? Like, really? I'm like, not my mama. Lord, my mama though? And so my mom was like, she was just 58. And another thing that grieves me with that is, like, we were planning to have a party together when she turned 60. I turned 30. And it's just all those things too, right? Where the things that you expect and all the expectations you have with life, and you're like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and then they're not there anymore. And I'm gonna get into some of those things that I'm gonna have to deal with now moving forward, that my mom isn't here and what I've envisioned my life to be like. But it's not going to be that exact way now that she's not here physically. So back to the story. That's what I had my mama do. So I'm on the ground. So then more of my church people end up coming, ministers, leaders, to just show their support and be there for me in that time. My aunt ends up showing up, my cousin, her kids. And we was there, I would say I was there from 11. I was the first one in. Was I the last one to leave? Yeah, we basically was the last one to leave, right? Granted. Yeah, I mean, not granted, but what's the word? English is hard for me sometimes. But yeah, I was there from 11 to about 11 o'clock at night. And, I was with her all the way up until then. And I'm just so grateful for the people that were in my life at the time. A big thing with that too is with my mom, she went to when she moved here, she went to 3 different churches that I'm aware of. I won't name this first 2, but I will name, because she didn't join those churches and she wasn't a member. But the church that she did end up joining after all these years was Outstretched Evangelistic Ministries. And I was so grateful that she did that too, because she wanted to wait. And we were telling her, like, it's important to, which is crazy, it's important to join a church, because when you pass away, that church is, they have the responsibility of getting your stuff together, you know what I mean? Like speaking at the funeral and doing all the different things that come along with that. And so we were talking to her about this around January, and she's like, nah, I'll wait till the summer. And I could tell that she wanted to. It wasn't that, it was just, I think that just that little bit of, leap of faith, that step to the unknown of like, well, if I do, or I haven't done this before, I don't know what it's going to look like. And I was just trying to reassure her, like, Mom, I feel like you've made it up in your heart and your mind that you want to do this. So I'm like, tomorrow ain't promised. It's better to do it now. And she's thinking about it. And so she ended up doing it. So grateful and thankful for that. And then she ended up passing away a month later. Right? Crazy. But, I can be one of those types to be a little, I don't say pushy, but like when I see that something, you know what I mean? Like I see the, how I want to say this. You could use the words potentials. You could use the word, the light, whatever you want to use. But like, I can see like, okay, you want to do this, but what's the reservation? And so sometimes it come off as pushy. Like, I already said I didn't want to do it, but it's like, listen, I know the reward behind this. Come on now, a little nudge, And so after I did that, I was like, dang, I felt a little bad, because I was like, was I a little bit too pushy? Should I have just let her make up her mind? Same as with the hospital. I'm just like, giving her suggestions of where I felt like she should go. But like I said, with my mom, sometimes when she made up her mind, her mind was made up. But in that instance, she ended up listening and doing it, and she joined the church. And that was the very first church she had ever joined. And they loved her like no other. I mean, like, it's literally quality over quantity, honey. It don't matter how long you've been somewhere. You can feel the genuine love, the genuine care for somebody. Like, she kept coming, and she was coming there faithfully. It wasn't like she just started coming. She would come to events. She would visit church sometimes. And this was over the course of like 4 years. So it's like, girl, what you waiting on? You know what I mean? Like, girl, you getting fed here, you getting loved here. Come on. So yeah, she ended up doing that, and I'm so grateful that she took that leap, and I was so proud of her. And there were so many things that I know that she was proud of me of, like she was with me when I out here being a heathen and ratchet and raggedy, okay? When I was so far from God, when I didn't believe, and I know my mom was like worried about me, like, my child, Lord help my child. But when I gave my life to Jesus in 2022, I know that like healed something for my mom, because it was just like, I feel like every parent wants to see their child, grow in the Lord and just find the Lord and go to make it to heaven so we can be in the New Jerusalem when the time comes. Okay. So I know that she was seeing me walk this thing out, and she couldn't have been more proud of me, and I know that when she left, she knew that I would be in good hands, and that I finally found people who loved me and accepted me for me and valued me and appreciated me, not for what I was doing or what I did, but for who I am. And so I feel like that's so important, to have people who love you for you, not for what you can do for them, not for your talents and gifts, because they're not even yours, they're God's, and He gave them to you to use, right? So it's like, you love my anointing, you like my anointing, you don't even like me. Bing. Okay, so yeah, so after that, we, the ceremony, I had to start planning for that, and that was it wasn't as bad as I would have thought. Like, I just made sure I was staying focused. I made sure I reached out to like her friends and the people that I knew that she would want me to reach out to and care for, and I went to go look for their numbers and their contacts to make sure that they knew, because I'm like, what I was thinking the whole time, I was like, what would my mom want? My mom was clear that she wanted to be cremated. So I was like, that's a done deal, right? She made that absolutely clear. Up and through all of her life, she would always tell me, Daiesha, I want to be cremated. Daiesha, I want to be cremated. So I'm like, okay. And so we made sure that happened. And but I was just like, what way do I show up honoring God and honoring my mom, right? What way do I show up like Christ in this whole thing? And so I ended up, me and my best friend ended up working on an obituary. She helped me structure it and like what to put where and how to lay it out and stuff like that. And I ended up just digitally creating it. That saved money. And so I'm just like, nothing that God gives you or that you've done goes to waste. Like, He doesn't waste anything, nothing. Like, He uses every bit of it for His good, for your good. And so I admire that about God. It's just like, He don't let nothing go to waste, nothing. And so I've been working on like digital stuff since about, here and there for years. But to be able to actually be the one to make and create my mom's own obituary was something for me. It was special for me to do, because it was like, I know what she liked, what she would like, and so it was beautiful for me to be able to do that for her and, for the family. The ceremony, it was a beautiful ceremony. Okay, people came out like that and showed their love and their respects. And I know that some people, the people that couldn't make it, they even reached out and like, they didn't have to tell me why, you know what I mean? But they told me like why they couldn't make it and stuff like that. And I just was like, that's so beautiful, because they didn't have to. But like, look at God, right? I ended up speaking. I wanted to listen. This is what happened. So I was doing my little 2-minute word of encouragement, right? Because it was that time. And they told me I ended up actually like preaching the thing, and I ended up kind of doing the eulogy. It was an accident. Like, I was in prayer and I'm like, what should I say? And like me and Holy Spirit was talking and chopping it up, and that's what I got. And it ended up being that. And I was like, oh. Well, I mean, hey, it happens, right? It happens. So I ended up that video was also on YouTube. It'll be right up over here too. Go and click that button, you can watch that. But yeah, I just spoke from the heart. I just, talked about my mom and just how much of a peacemaker she was, how forgiving and loving she was. She was such a loving soul. She loved everybody, wanted to help everybody. I would hear her say like, she didn't have gifts or she didn't have talents. And it's like, I believe my mama had the gift of mercy, and I believe that my mama had the gift of like the humanitarian, the helping people who need. Like, she loved to help the poor and the needy. Like, I don't know the way I said that. I don't mean like how I said it. She loved to help people in need, those who were poor, those who needed shelter, all the things. And then she was very, what do people deserve? Forgiveness. It wasn't really ever, oh, you should get revenge, you should do that. So what do people deserve? Forgiveness. And that's mercy. Like, so she liked to help people where she could. And it was like, forgive them. You know what I mean? If they hurt you, my mom was like, do what God loves. I'll try to do her accent, child. She do what she said, Daiesha, you gotta do what God loves, and stuff like that. She was from Africa, Liberia, Monrovia, Liberia. So, just in case y'all didn't know, which I'm sure y'all didn't, because I didn't go down her history. But a plug-in, she was from Africa. So she was from Liberia. She came here when she was 14 and started her life here. Met my dad. Boom, there's me. And the rest is the rest. But yeah, my mom was very, very kind. Like, she was big on doing what God loves. She was big on, like, mending relationships, reconciling her relationships. She would check in and call in on everybody. I mean, all the time. She would make time for everybody. Like, she would call you up, see how you was doing. If she didn't hear from you in 3 years, she calling you up, making sure you okay. Because that is how type of person my mama was. And there's so many things that I can say about her. I wanted her to be on my podcast too, because she told me her story one day, and boy, had me crying. I said, the people need to hear this, girl. The people gotta hear this. And she like, no. Because my mom was behind the scenes, quieter, to herself. But it's one of those things when you got to know her. She's so funny, had the greatest sense of humor. Her comebacks, let me tell you, okay, like, what the kids be doing, clock it. She clock it, okay. Like, she was that girl. So, yeah, I miss her daily. The biggest thing, I know I'm going all over the place, y'all. I told y'all, bear with me. The biggest thing I miss is just hearing her voice. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like, just hearing her voice, hearing, just, we used to talk on the phone all the time, every day. And that wasn't a thing that had to be built up, because I used to get annoyed, like, my mom's calling. Because it's just like, what we talking about? We ain't talking about nothing. But it's like, that's my mom's way of, that's just who she was. She gonna reach out. That's my mom, But when I got older, more importantly, when I gave my life to Christ, I really started to change my way of, like, how I was treating people, how I was going about things. And so we end up talking every day, all day. Not all day, but every day. Call like 2-3 times a day. But, just, hey, how you doing? What's up? Hanging out with each other. There was one year where we had decided and planned, like, from January to December, we was going to do something every month. And we ended up doing it, too. We ended up going to see Mike Epps, Cat Williams. We ended up, what did we do? Going to the movies, going out of town. Like, so that whole month, we stayed to that, and we did something every month for that whole year. And so that was just things that, stood out to me. And my mom made the best. So people will have their different bests. Okay, so I want all people who knew my mama, write in the comments what was the best thing she made for you. For me, first off, them blueberry muffins with them eggs. I'm not an eggs person, but I know somebody gonna say with them eggs. But them blueberry bread, oh, girl, mama told that blueberry, I don't care if it's just from the box. She put love in that thing. Okay, but if we're gonna go home cooking, kidney beans and rice, still a can and some rice, but guess what? It had love in it. She still had to put her little stew together. Fried okra, okay. All the things that's my favorites. I know people can say her chicken and fries. Other people say her pancakes and eggs. Other people can say different type of stuff, but for me, that was my favorite. But yeah, when she cooked, she always made sure you ate. That's one thing for sure. Making breakfast, she always made sure you was good. Like, When my friends came over, you best believe she asking them, what you want to eat? Cream of wheat, oatmeal. Listen, y'all gotta understand, you could make a little something, and it'd be like, it could be boxed, it could be canned, it could be whatever. But it's like, if you don't put no love in it, you don't really care too much about it, it ain't gonna taste, it ain't gonna hit the same as somebody else who do. And even when you do home cooking, if you ain't got no love in that thing, you could have kept that. You could have kept it. But nah, yeah, that's my mama's cooking. And I'm sure I've, segued into so many things. But the lost portion, the last piece I'm going to say before we transition into the lessons portion is that grief is hard. Grief is hard. I'm so grateful and thankful that I have a therapist that I've been with even before my mom passed. She's helped tremendously with helping me just understand and like look at things a different way and give me more information on what something could be or why this could be. And I'm like, I'm so grateful. And then I thank you and thankful. I'm so thankful for my community that God has blessed me with. That they've been so supportive, my family. And then God, of course, he been my big dog, road dog, what? He makes sure I'm good, period. You know what I mean? Like, without him, you wouldn't see this. Without him, it wouldn't be no smile. Without him, it'd be no joy. Without him, it'd be no peace, period. Like, I owe it to him. Jesus, you see the shirt? It say Jesus, 100. Because that's who's been helping me. That's who's been helping me get through this thing, right? So, yeah, grief is interesting. Like, my grieving, how it started, and it's changed. And that's one thing I want to I want to stress enough, that I can't stress enough, is grieving looks different for everybody. First and foremost, can't let nobody tell you how to grieve, right? Thirdly, it might not look like how you thought it was gonna look. Like, when I used to think about if I'm lost my mom, y'all, I thought I was gonna be wailing, hailing, all over the place, okay, like crazy, like. And granted, it may happen, that might still happen, right? But I mean initially, like, I thought it was just gonna be so, and it might have been if I didn't have Jesus. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because when I tell you cornerstone, chief cornerstone, Prince of Peace, okay, give her joy. Let me tell you something, okay? Could have well been, but I know where my help comes from, and it cometh from the Lord, okay? So I thought that's how I was gonna be, but man, when I tell you that calmness, that peace, I said, wait a minute. And yes, I was still sad. You can be both at the same. You can be sad, and you can still have joy. You can be sad and still have peace. I'll be sad sometimes. I'll be like, dang, but I know where my mama at. It's okay. And that's the most important part, to be aware. Don't suppress it. Don't be like, well, I feel joy. If it's an ounce of sadness, they're saying it's an ounce of sadness, and I still knows whose I am. Don't play yourself. Don't play yourself. Don't play yourself. Tell yourself, listen, we feel this how we feel. And that's okay. Like, and then even if you good one day, say you good. Don't lie, because people are expecting you to be sad or expecting you to be crying. If you're okay, you can say you're okay. You can say you good. I experienced that a little bit with my grief. Like, there was a lot of days where I was really good. Like, they were asking me at the, and you gotta understand, you're asking me at a moment as well. Like, 5 minutes from now may not be, but like at this moment that you're asking, I'm good. And you get met with, are you sure? You sure you're good? And it's like, yeah. But it's like, but when I say I'm not good, I'm like, nah, I'm sad, or it's not a good day. It's not really met with a, are you sure? It's usually met with a lot of times it's met with giving advice. Like, I know, hang in there, this and then the third. Nothing's wrong with that. I ain't gonna say nothing's wrong with that. But it's like, be mindful of that too when people are grieving. Like, sometimes somebody isn't really looking for you to, give them, feedback or suggestions or, things like that. They may just need you to acknowledge, like, oh, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's like, yeah, well, what's making you get curious? Like, well, why are you sad today? It's like people don't get to asking, like, well, why are you sad? It's like, man, I miss my mom. It's like, you know what? It's going to be okay. My best friend do a good job of that, though. Like, a lot of times when I'm expressing, like, she's been such a good help and support. Shout out to her. But, like, when I'm telling her I'm sad, she's like, why? I'm like, I miss my mom. She's just like, oh, and, you know, she's just there. Like, her presence a lot of times is enough. And that's another thing. Sometimes your presence is enough. Like, you don't really have to say something. You don't need to say anything. Just your presence, just being there with them is enough, you know? So I say all that to say it's okay to feel how you feel no matter if it's left or right. Which meaning it's okay if you're sad, it's okay if you're happy, it's okay if you're glad, it's okay if you're mad, it's okay if you got joy. All those are okay and you should feel them. Don't suppress any of them because you have to be open to things changing as well. Be open to change. You have to be open to that. Don't be so set on expecting yourself to be joyful. Don't be so set on expecting yourself to be sad all the time. All the time. Because you will set yourself up for disappointment. And I mean, like, if you're feeling sad Sunday, don't expect to feel sad Monday. Let you feel what you feel. You might wake up and feel joy. Say all right, but don't sabotage. And then don't start self-sabotaging the joy you feel because you've expected to feel sadness. No, it's okay to feel that joy. And if it changed the next moment, let it change the next moment. What's important is you be honest with yourself to say, this is how I feel in this moment, and that's okay. That is okay. So segue. Because that's something I had to learn, right? I just had to learn, like, it's okay to feel these feelings. It's okay to be aware of these feelings. And also we can see where they're coming from. You know, also being aware of your body, like, okay, it's something I just watched causing me to feel this type of way. Like being self-aware. Because I was watching TV. What was I watching? I think it was 90 Day Fiancé. Don't judge me. And or Love After Lockup. It was one of them. Either way, I think it was 90 Day Fiancé. And the girl was like with her mom and just talking about her friendship with her mom. And she was, it was 90 Day Fiancé because she was about to move to, I forget, somewhere out of the country with the dude. And she was just with her mom and they were just crying and, you know, and it triggered me because it was just like fresh, maybe not a day, but like a few days after my mom passed away. And I'm like, yeah, or a week. I don't know for sure, but it was close to when she was just passed away. And I was like, yeah, I can't watch this. And guess what? I was watching my best friend. Guess what she said? She said, okay, we can watch something else. That's how you show up for your friends. That's how you show up for your people. You don't try to argue with them about it. You don't try to say, what? How is this triggering you? It's not even, I don't know. It just is. And it's just not sitting right with me right now. Maybe we can try again tomorrow. But right now, it's not working. And for you to be like, okay, well, what else would you want to watch? Or do you want to do something else? You know, it's just being open to being adaptable. Adaptability is important. Okay. So, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You're not gonna feel the same every day, and that's okay. Another thing, when my mom first passed away, I was grieving a lot in the morning. Like I would just break down and just cry. For some reason, the bathroom was just hitting it for me. Every time I went to the bathroom, about to get ready to leave, it's just bam, start bust out crying. I'm like, what is going on? But I let myself. You have to get that out because if you do not get that out in those moments, you will harbor it, and then it will eventually come out in other ways. It can come out in anger. It can enrage randomly, just at random moments where nobody's even doing something. It can come out with, you can end up punching a wall or just something. I'm just giving just random examples, but like it can come out up and out in other ways that are unhealthy because you didn't take the time to process that grief at that moment that you need to feel it. And everything ain't got to be hooping and holler. Sometimes you could just be like, dang, I'm sad, and start crying. And feel that. And then move on. You ain't got to sit in it. And I'm saying this because I used to do that and feel like I had to. I'm like, I used to feel like if I didn't have any overwhelming emotional things going on, like if it wasn't, big and grand, that I probably wasn't feeling it for real. And it's like, that's not the truth. no matter how big or how small, your emotions are valid. So you can feel them in any degree, right? It doesn't matter. It's just being aware of them and being honest with yourself about how you're feeling and why you're feeling it and what you're going to do moving forward about it. But then I realized that the more I thought about it, the more I was trying to get all that. That's what was making it worse. Because I was just like, I was sitting in it and soaking in it and thinking about it over and over and over again. And so a man thinketh, so is he. So I became an over emotional being, right? Unhealthy, y'all. So yeah, I hope this stuff is helpful. I told y'all, it's just me and you having a conversation about grief, and I hope this blesses somebody and helps somebody that may be going through, has just gone through, or will be going through. Okay. So yes, grief is grief, and we don't all grieve the same, and that is okay. Take your time, baby girl, baby boy, and let's let it be what it be. So we're gonna segue into some lessons that I've learned along my way in this journey from my mom passing. One thing I learned is God is good, but I already learned that. But I'm just saying, in more of a magnitude degree, God is good all the time. All the time, He's good. Okay. I mean, even in the face of that, like in the storm, Jesus is on the boat. What you worried about it? He's on the boat. Wherever Jesus is, you good. That's I'm like, I want to be where He at. That's on period. I want to be where Jesus is. So wherever He is, that's where I'm at. And wherever I'm at, He is, because greater is in me than he who is in the world. Can I get an amen? Nah, but on a serious tip, one thing I did learn, let me give you a story and what I learned from it first and foremost. So this is something that happened at the Repass for my mom. So that whole day I was on it, y'all, because I was like, listen, first of all, I gotta show up as an example, right? Because I just, out of my cousins, I believe, like the cousins that were there, I believe I'm the only one who's lost my mom. Out of my immediate, like cousins that are my age, and so it's like, first of all, I gotta be an example. Second of all, an example, a Christ-like example, because it's like you don't know who's looking at you, you don't know who's watching you, you don't know. So it's like you gotta be mindful of how you showing up as an ambassador for Christ. And so I made up in my mind. I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let nothing get me today, cause you know, the enemy can see you doing good. He like, nah, I'm finna trip her up. I already know what get her. No. Right? And it's a mind thing, right? Because he not omnipresent like our Lord. He not omnipresent like our God. Right? He can't see everything. He can't be everywhere. But if he can get you thinking of something or in the same cycle and pattern of something, that's about what it is, right? Or he can use somebody else to get you tripped up with the way they go about their stuff, right? So stay with me. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna honor God, honor my mom, make sure I'm showing up like Christ and being a light. So all the people that's around me, like, they see me and go, what the world? And it's like, it's Jesus. Big J. It's Jesus. And that's, I want to be able to say, what the change you see in me, what you seeing in me, that's Jesus. It's the God in me. Shout out to Mary. It's the God in me. That's what you see. So I was like, no matter what comes my way today, I'm going to stay prayed up. I'm going to stay consistent. And I'm going to make sure I show up. So everything was going good. Like, things were working out. People were showing up. We was good. This is ceremony. Then the repass come. Now they calling, saying the people that messed up our reservation. Now, mind you, we done called 3 times, went up there, and they done messed up the reservation. And I'm like, oh, goodness. I'm like, it's starting, y'all. The test. I'm like, okay. And that's another thing, too. You don't know. Because as much as I said the enemy also can test you. Now, Satan does something else. He ain't doing no test. He be trying to tempt and do all this and get you out your element. God, test. So also it could be that. It could have been that. Either way it go, I had to stay like Christ. So so I'm like, dang. It's how you handle situations. Listen, because you can't you let me just get to it. So I walk in, I'm like, alrighty, I already know I'm finna talk to whoever I gotta talk to. Now my dad is riled up. You know like I said, if you know my dad, you know my dad. And he don't be playing. He don't be playing now. He a veteran. You know how And he said me, he said me. That should tell y'all enough. Okay. So he wasn't too fond of what was going on, and it was rightfully so. I mean, people were in our area that they told us we would have at the time. We reserved, and we done did it in like 5 times. We didn't talk to y'all like 5 different times. But I was like, it's not gonna solve nothing if I go in here angry. It ain't gonna solve nothing because it's already happening. So I was like, well, what's the solution? So I go in there calmly talking to the manager, like, what's going on? My dad's still riled up, like, this unacceptable and stuff. And I'm like, all right. So I'm trying to get my dad to go. I'm just like, Dad, it's all right. It's cool. Let me go and handle it. I got it. So I'm talking to them. And I'm like, hey, you know what's going on? And they telling me and they explaining it. And I'm like, all right. So it sounds like you're trying to figure out a solution. And they're like, yeah. When they telling me that's what they told him. But he kind of, so I get it. Okay. I'm like, thank you for that. Thank you for, trying to figure it out. And then he goes, yeah, I'm trying to, like, get the people to give them, like, a discount or something like that. And my dad hears that. He like, discount? We the ones should be getting the compensation. And dude like, what? Dude like, what you say? And I'm like, oh, gosh. And it's like, you can tell dude's not really hearing him anymore because of the approach that my dad chose to take. And like I said, I get it, but we can't control how other people, we can only control ourselves. Let me just say that. And how we respond, react. So I was like, all right, let me be calm. Let me just try to get to the, so I said, okay. I said, is there any way you're going to be able to, accommodate us as well, give us, and he's like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, well, thank you for, trying to figure it out and helping us and whatever the case may be. Well, they weren't able to, like, get the people out the room. Cool. So I'm like, all right, it is what it is. But our party was still able to fit, so that was good. They were trying to clean off some tables to be able to accommodate. So they were getting the ball rolling. They weren't just sitting on it and just being like, well, you know what I mean? They were trying. It was busy. So, I try to be in their shoes as well. Like, it is busy. And they didn't mean for it to happen. They said it just, somebody didn't do their part. And I know the biggest thing is we try to take our anger out and our frustrations out on the wrong people that didn't do anything. Like, they didn't do anything and they were trying to help. So it's like, how are we going to solve this if I'm upset and I'm angry and I'm yelling at them and they can't hear me? So yeah, that's the approach I took. So that had happened. It was cool. I was like, all right, cool. Everybody good. We started to get our food. We cool. So I'm walking around talking to everybody, laughing with my cousins, this. And like when you set on like being a light, being, enjoy in a it kind of puts you, when you're emotionally available, it kind of puts you in a vulnerable state. At least that's how I feel sometimes. I'm still trying to work on like being more not on guard. I guess I could say, like, your guard isn't up. There's not many, it's like, I think an analogy I heard is you putting up blocks and putting up builder blocks, nobody can get in, nobody can get out. But if you put it a gate, you can choose who can come in and who can come out. So it's kind of like that. Like, when I get in defensive mode, or even when we get in defensive mode, we put up the brick wall instead of that gate of like, no, you can open it and close it at will. So that analogy kind of helped me, where I'm like, all right, this is kind of like a gate, kind of, I don't know how to describe it, y'all. Just bear with me of the story. So I'm just going to use this word, vulnerable. Okay, that's kind of how I be feeling like, just because I'm so open and I'm so, free in, what I'm doing. And when things happen that's unexpected, in the way that I'm about to say it, it gets me like, excuse me, fleshy. You know, you can get real fleshy. let's just say that. Like, I'm okay, I'm walking in the spirit. But now you didn't try to test my flesh. That's what it is. The flesh is like, what you say? And spirit is like, don't do it. Okay? I'll give it to you like that. So basically, I'm enjoying myself. I'm walking. And now, I have a quieter tone sometimes. Like I can, on here, y'all can, this one side to me. But usually, like, I could be quieter, just very like, hey, how you doing? And so I was walking. It was my cousin, some other people. My mom's best friend had shown up, and then this lady. And so I was walking in between them, and I was like, excuse me. And I said about 3 times. And while I'm walking, I hear the lady go, excuse me. And I look back at her, and I'm just looking at her. And I think, and I kid you not, I'm thinking she playing. Because I'm like, ain't no way. And I'm thinking she going to go, and I'm just looking at her, and I'm thinking she going to go, girl, I'm just playing with you, or something. And she said it again. She's like, excuse me. And I just feel my body going up, like, because I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I didn't do anything to you. Like, why are you being so aggressive? Like, why are you being, in my mind, is what I'm thinking. Like, why are you being so mean? I don't understand. So then I look at her, and she just looking at me like, and I'm just like, I did say excuse me. And then my cousin goes, she did say excuse me. And then my best friend, she's like, she said excuse me. And she goes, oh, well, I didn't hear it. And I'm like, okay, well, I did. And I had to walk away, y'all. Because, baby, the old me, the me before Christ. Listen, you must die to your flesh daily. That was a moment. Woo, because them words I wanted to say. And it wasn't even like the words. It's just how I wanted to approach it. Like, I wanted to be like, excuse me. I said, excuse me. So what's the issue? First of all, she was older than me. So it's like, it's just a whole thing. Like, respect your elders type thing. Like, okay, even, she was not kind, but it's just like, also, okay, she was older than me. Secondly, to meet that same energy with that wasn't gonna solve nothing, because it just would have made me look, I would have stooped down to where she was at, and that's not solving anything. We're not called to walk like that. You know what I mean? We're not called to match people's energy. It's treat people the way you want to be treated. And I didn't want to be treated like that, right? But that's what she chose. That's how she chose to go about it. But I'm like, dang. I really wanted to be like, what's the problem? And I felt my flesh, boy. I was like getting upset, because I'm like, I ain't do nothing to you, and you just gonna come at me like that. But I'm just like, nah, keep it calm. It would have been more of my tone and stuff, because I would have got an attitude. I wanted to catch one quick. I really did, because I'm like, I didn't do nothing. But I had to think to myself, like, what would that have solved? What would have that done? What would it have done? Golly, y'all, words, I'm telling y'all. And it's like, it wouldn't have solved anything. It probably would have made it worse. And everybody looking at me like, this out of left field. And it's just like, and what came to my mind was like, remember what you said you were going to do today, how you were going to show up. This is just another one of those. And I'm like, I said, you ain't finna get me. That's how my thought was. Like, you ain't finna get me today. So I just had to walk away. Sometimes you just got to walk away. Like, I said my piece, and I had to walk away, because I was like, if I ain't walk away, bruh, I was getting hot. And I wanted to. And then you know how you want to start talking under your breath, like, how dare she think she's talking to me like that? I was like, I can't even do that here. I was like, I gotta let it go. Because the sooner you let it go and just shake it off, the better. Because one thing that helped me too with situations like that, or situations similar, is just like, will you care about this 5 hours later? Like 5 hours later, when you land in the bed chilling or wherever you may be, would it be that big of a deal as it is right now? And if the answer is no, let it go. As soon as you can, let it go. And so, I feel my body like getting hot, because I wanted to, and I was like, just let it go. Let it be what it is. Because at the end of the day, people gonna look to her like, you know what I mean? Like, okay. That it makes them look more, out of line than it does, you when you respond back with kindness and, just okay and walk away. And then she called herself, instead of apologizing to me, because she didn't apologize. Like, that's crazy. Like, you were wrong, bro. Like, dead set wrong. She didn't apologize. She didn't say, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you know what I mean? Nothing. She didn't decide it because my cousin, while I walked away, my cousin don't play. Which I get, because like I said, I get it. But I was like, I can't. I said, listen, I can't go there. I gotta listen. Okay? So my cousin goes to her, and my cousin's like, she don't play when it comes to people she care about. So she goes to the lady, and she's just telling the lady, like, you didn't have to talk to her like that and stuff like that. And I'm standing there, and this is before I walked away. Like, I hear her saying this, and like I'm telling my cousin, like, it's okay. And she's like, yeah. She's like, you didn't have to say that to her like that. And that's when I'm starting to walk away. And I think I hear her say that my mom just passed away. I can't remember. I mean, I can't remember, but I didn't hear fully. I thought I heard something about my mom. Now I can double check and ask her. But that's what I thought I heard. And then, so it's just like, I don't even want to go there with that. Because it's just like, you don't know what someone is going through. And so that's why you should probably be kind to people, because you don't know what they're going through. Like, you have no idea. And then it's like, I wasn't even in the space to try to make somebody feel bad about what they said, because a lot of times the people are like that. When you do, her heart seemed like it wasn't even in the right space. So it's like, even if I were to do that, she probably just would have buckled down even more. And it just would have made it even more where it's like, what? You know what I mean? And I don't want to even assume left or right. I don't want to assume either or. It's just like, I didn't want to deal with it after that. But my cousin was like, nah, this ain't right. And hey, it is what it is. And I don't feel like my cousin was even to the point of disrespect. But to be honest, she was just more so like, I don't like how you just did that and how you treated my cousin. That wasn't okay. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I was just like, I ain't even got time for it. And so, and it's not even the place for this right now. It's like my mom's repass. Like, come on now. So, the lady ends up calling herself, having a talk with my cousin, I guess. And it's just like, you're still not, this is what we still doing? Like, this is the energy you still want to be on. And so I guess she called herself lecturing my cousin after that. And it was just like, okay, yeah. And that whole scene was just, it was interesting. But I was very proud of myself, because I was like, I made up in my mind how I was going to show up that day. And I was like, I did all the way up until. Now, there was a moment that got me a little bit, y'all. Because I was doing good. And then we went to Crazy Pins after. And a little situation, I ain't going to get into depth with that. A little situation happened. It had your girl in her feelings a little bit. Oh, but it had got solved quickly. Quicker than it usually would have if it was the old me. So I was like, listen. Because I was close. I was so close. I did a little bit of, and I talked to my therapist about it. Hey, what's up? What's happening? Okay, so y'all see, I had a little wardrobe change, right? We were up in the Yahweh, the great I am. Why is that, you may ask? Well, I got a story for that. I got a story to tell if you're listening. So this is what happened. So last week, Saturday, I was recording, and I was having me a good old time. I was just getting into it. Woo! Y'all, why I get up? I recorded for 2.5 hours. Why I get up and only half of my video recorded? Why? Due to low storage space. That's the L that I just had to take. I was so upset. I was like, are you serious? I sat here. And I mean, when I say I was getting into it, I was like, this little kid, I was like, that was the best part. I'm being biased. But I'm like, dang, I recorded all this material. 2.5 hours up here. And only half of it recorded. So only 1 hour and 12 minutes recorded. I had like 1.5 hours that I recorded and it did not save. So today I come to tell y'all, I have checked my storage space. We should be good today. And because of that, there will be excuse me, sorry. There will be a part 2 to this episode. So you have seen part 1, where I discuss and I go into, you know, the timeline of my mom up until she passed, and then some of the repass, and you know, some of those things that happened that day. And I was just getting into the lessons I had learned, you know, from my mom's passing, and bam. So this is going to be the end of part 1. The end of part 1. And so we're going to begin part 2 for you guys, which will be coming out April 15th. April 5th. You'll be seeing this video April 8th. The part 2 will be coming out the week after, Tuesday, 3 p.m., April 15th. So sorry, y'all. It would have been one video. But now we have broken it into 2, and that's okay. But y'all, when I tell you I was upset, I was so upset. I was like, man. And I had to shake it off. I was just like, you know what? But, you know, listen. Let me not dive too deep into it. Just know I was disappointed. But I knew I had to shake it off and get over it and just go, you know what? It happens. Because how you handle your disappointments is so important. And it sets you up for, you know, future. Because you're going to always experience letdowns. I mean, that's just a part of life. Everything ain't going to always work out the way that you think it should. Some things just happen. But it's how you handle that is what matters. So I was like, you know, it happened. It happens. What are we going to do? So we're back again. Part 2, coming to you here live, not really live, pre-recorded, but it's same difference. Love y'all. I will catch y'all in part 1, 2.
Stay tuned for a preview of part 2.
And there's so many souls on the line. That's another reason why I'm so passionate about this, because there's souls on the line. Like Satan, the God, lowercase g, of this world is evil. And it's like this world is going amok. It's crazy how so many things have just switched and flipped. And so many things are right that are wrong and wrong that are right. When it comes to Christ, when it comes to God, He's going to exceed, you know, all that man can do, right? We have to truly commit, though. Like, we can't say, oh, I commit to you, but then when bumps and you know, life starts to happen, we tap out. It's like, but then you weren't truly committed. You weren't really in this thing like you said you were in it. You were only in it when it was beneficial. You were only in it when it was convenient. You were only in it when it made you feel good. You ain't gonna always feel good. Feelings come and go. That's just what that is. Feelings come, feelings go. And so you're not always going to feel good about it. You're not always going to feel God's manifest presence. But in His word, it says He will never leave you or nor forsake you. So stand on that when things get hard. Stand on that when things get rough.